America and Canada, two pretty similar countries, but with their fair share of differences as well. I've had the pleasure of living in both countries for a pretty significant period of time. And while, like I said, both countries are pretty similar in the grand scheme of things, I'm here to talk about the 10 things that are different in these two countries. What is going on, everyone? Chris Vincelli here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel that discusses personal development, finances, and everyday life experiences. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna be talking about the 10 things that are different between these two countries. And I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna dive into it right now. And the first thing I'm gonna talk about are the things to do in each country. There are plenty of things to do in both countries. Both countries are very fun to live in and to visit. Canada has some great fun cities that you can visit and you can live in. Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, all great cities with plenty of events and festivals taking place pretty much throughout the year. Montreal has an amazing nightlife. Toronto is the cultural and economic hub of Canada. And Vancouver is also a very fun city where you can take advantage of some of the great outdoor activities in and around the city. On top of that, Canada's wilderness is fantastic. Canada has some great ski resorts. So if you love skiing or snowboarding, there's plenty of that in Canada. And of course, Canada's got thousands and thousands of lakes and rivers that you can go rowing or boating in. There's plenty of hiking to do in Canada. There are even some beaches too. So there are a lot of things that you can do in Canada. Canada has its fair share of sports as well. Of course, the biggest sport in Canada is hockey by far and wide, but Canada also has its own football league. Canadians love skiing and snowboarding, so there are plenty of sports to do in Canada as well. With that in mind, however, I feel there are more things to do in the United States than in Canada. There are just more things happening in America. First and foremost, I'm not knocking on Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver. They're all great cities in their own way, but those cities pale in comparison to the world-class cities of New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, and Miami. There are just more things to do in those cities than Toronto or Montreal can ever come up with. American cities, big or small, tend to be really, really fun. They all have their own unique thing that they offer. New York is obviously the city that never sleeps. Miami is a preeminent tourist destination. LA is the cultural capital of the United States and arguably of the world as well. And then there are other cities like Nashville and Las Vegas and even Austin or Charleston, South Carolina that offer their own unique and fun nightlife. So I'm gonna say that American cities are more world-class and more culturally significant. They're more influential on the world stage, and therefore there's just more things to do there. On top of that, yes, Canada has a great wilderness, but so does America. The national parks in the United States are absolutely gorgeous. You got Yellowstone National Park, Yosemite, Grand Canyon. In America, there are just so many things that you can do in the great outdoors. America has great mountains that you can ski or snowboard on, that you can hike on as well. America's got some great deserts that you can visit. It's got beaches, it's got oceans, it's got coral reefs. It's got a lot. So I have to say that even though Canada offers a lot for you to do, America does tend to offer more, even in the great outdoors. And look, Americans love their sports too. Not only is hockey a thing in the United States, but so is football. In fact, football is probably the most popular sport in America. America also has baseball, basketball, and other sports like tennis and beach volleyball and even soccer are also pretty popular in the United States. And this is on top of winter sports like skiing and snowboarding. So there are plenty of sports, plenty of sporting activities that you can do here in the United States, and there are plenty of sporting events too, like the Super Bowl, for example. And then finally, I think the United States offers something that Canada doesn't really have, and that is world-class amusement parks. There is just no such thing as a Walt Disney World or Universal Studios in Canada. Yet there are several cities in the United States that do offer world-class amusement parks. It's not really my thing, but I know that a lot of people do vacation in America to check out these amusement parks. Walt Disney World is world-renowned, and so is Universal Studios. So I have to say that even though Canada has a lot to offer, I think the United States in general offers more. Another area in which the United States and Canada differ is in its culture. And yeah, I know both cultures are, in the grand scheme of things, pretty darn similar. But with that being said, there are some pretty significant differences in each country's culture. First and foremost, American culture is a lot more culturally significant, consequential, and influential around the world. Americans do place a very large emphasis on independence, on personal responsibility, and tend to be more, I have to say, outgoing and outspoken as well. Whereas Canadians take pride in being more of a peaceful country and sometimes think a little bit more as a community. Americans just seem to be more comfortable being sociable and interacting with others, whereas Canadians, on the other hand, tend to be more reserved, polite, and quieter, to be quite honest. The third thing I'm going to talk about are its climates, and I think this is pretty well known. I spoke about it in previous videos as well, but Canada's climate is, for the most part, absolutely atrocious. First off, the northern half of Canada is just completely Arctic, barren wasteland. It's inhospitable. You can't live there. The terrain and the climate there does not support permanent human settlement. And in the lower half of the country, you do have varying climates as well. Certain parts are just subarctic. They're very cold, and the winters are very long and very dark. And then as you move further south, closer to the United States, that's where the climate becomes a little bit more hospitable to human settlement. The climate there might be more temperate, and you'll have long, dark, snowy winters and short, but relatively warm summers as well. In essence, pretty much all of Canada has some really bad, long, and dark winters. That is true for pretty much the whole country. On the other hand, America's climate really depends on where you are and where you live. America has deserts. America has the tropics. It's got the Arctic as well. It's got an alpine climate up in the Rockies. It's got the Great Plains. It's got a temperate climate in the north, around the Northeast region and around the Great Lakes. And it's got a subtropical climate in the south of the United States as well. So America's climate really varies. And I think that's one of the nice things about living in the United States is that depending on what you prefer, there will probably be a type of climate that's for you. Personally, I love the warmth. I love the tropics. That's why I live in Miami. But there are different types of climates throughout the entirety of the country. And whether you prefer a hot, dry desert climate or a tropical climate or a cool temperate climate, the United States has that for you. All right, and the fourth thing I'm gonna talk about is cuisine, their respective cuisines and how they differ from one another. And this is probably a little bit more subjective, but I actually happen to prefer Canadian cuisine over American cuisine. With that being said, American cuisine has a lot to offer. Its cuisine is influenced by the cultures and the peoples from all around the world. The only thing I have to say that I wish was a little bit different is that cuisines from different cultures tend to become Americanized. For example, Italian cuisine in the United States is not true Italian cuisine. It's completely Americanized. You find dishes here in America that are supposedly Italian that you do not find in Italy. Same goes for things like Mexican food and Chinese food. Tex-Mex is not Mexican, and your typical Chinese food here in the United States is not really Chinese either. It was probably invented somewhere in California or New York. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about is opportunity. And this is where I feel America is pretty significantly different from Canada. There is just a lot more opportunity for you to grow in your career or to launch your career or to just find a good job and make good money in the United States. One of the main reasons is because America is just simply a much bigger country than Canada. America's population is 10 times that of Canada. And so there are just more jobs and more industries to work in. Literally almost every single industry on the face of the earth is present in America. But there are also more personal freedoms in America. It's a more business-friendly country, and it's a more economically free country than Canada. So therefore, it's just easier to start a business or to do something new in America. Literally in the United States, the sky's the limit. There's no limit on what you can do. If you can dream it in your head, chances are you can probably do it in America. And don't get me wrong, Canada's a great country and there are plenty of opportunities for you to do well in your career and to grow personally and professionally. But I have to say that in America, there is no limit on your opportunity. The sky's the limit. Before I jump into my sixth point, I just want to let you know that whether you've seen my content before or if this is the first time you're viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you're liking the video so far, go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube really likes it when people like my videos. It helps support the channel a lot. And finally, I'm also on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there as well. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna talk about are their respective economies. And both the economies of Canada and the United States are very highly developed, but the American economy is the biggest economy in the world. It is much larger than that of Canada's. And that's just because, like I said earlier, There are more people here in the United States. There's more opportunity, there are more jobs, there are more industries. America is the world's #1 economy, but Canada's economy is also very large and very impressive as well. Just to give you a couple of examples here, the American GDP per capita is one of the highest in the world. I think there are just a few other countries above the United States in terms of GDP per capita, and those countries tend to be, smaller countries of just a few million people. Canada has a very high GDP per capita as well, but it does fall short of America's. And like I said earlier, pretty much every single industry on the face of the earth is present in the United States. You can think of tech, you can think of the oil and gas industry, mining, you can think of sports and entertainment, travel and hospitality, financial services, banking. All of these industries are very much present in the United States. Whereas in Canada, the number of industries that are present in the Canadian landscape are a little bit more limited. When you think of major industries in Canada, you do think of the oil and gas industry, mining, financial services, manufacturing as well, but I think that's pretty much it. Long story short, America's economy is much larger, much more productive, and there are more industries and jobs present in the United States as well. Another point I can bring up is wealth. And if we take a look at the average wage in the United States, we can see that wages are actually very high. Americans are making a lot of money, and there's only just a couple other countries ahead of the United States in that area. Canada is not that far behind, but still pretty significantly lower than that of America's. All right, there are just a few more points I want to bring up, but the next point I'm going to talk about is safety. And in this area, I do feel that Canada is a safer country. It's a safer country to visit. It's a safer country to live in. In general, I don't feel that there are many bad neighborhoods in major Canadian cities. The crime rate in Canada is actually pretty low. And when living in Canada or when visiting Canada, you do get the sense that Canada is a safer, more peaceful country. The United States, on the other hand, is also a very safe country to live in, but I do get the sense that there are more bad neighborhoods in major American cities. There are more dangerous areas that you do need to be careful of, especially during certain times of the day or certain times of night. America's crime rate is a bit higher than that of Canada's. And because of the fact that America is a lot more present around the world, there are more negative things that could happen to America from foreign influences. Another thing I'm going to talk about is connectivity. And the United States is just a very well-connected country. There's an enormous network of highways and roads that link pretty much all major cities in the United States. So getting around is very easy. Going from one part of the country to the next is a very easy thing to do. You can pretty much hop onto any highway and you'll be able to drive to whatever city or town or village you want to go to. On top of that, the airline industry in the United States is huge. Pretty much all cities in the United States have an airport. So flying from one part of the country to the next, or even just flying regionally, is really, really easy. Airfare in the United States is pretty cheap, so it makes traveling pretty easy. And honestly, Canada is just not as well connected as the United States. If you want to travel regionally within Canada, if you want to travel, for example, between Montreal and Toronto, both located in Eastern Canada, well then, that's pretty easily done. There are dozens and dozens of flights per day between both of those cities, and there is a major highway linking them. But if you want to travel across the country, if you want to drive from, let's say, Toronto in Eastern Canada all the way to Vancouver in Western Canada, that's not very easily done. There is essentially only one highway linking Eastern Canada to Western Canada. And if that highway were to be out of commission for whatever reason, Canada would effectively be split in two. Now, with that being said, Canada does have a very large airline industry as well. There are several big airlines in Canada, and Canadians do fly a lot. They fly domestically and internationally. So flying within Canada is pretty easily done. The one thing I do have to say is that because there are fewer airlines in Canada, I feel that airfare is a lot more expensive, and it makes flying somewhat tougher, knowing that you have to pay several hundreds of dollars just to fly domestically. So at the end of the day, I do feel the United States is a more connected country. All right, and the last thing, the 10th thing I'm gonna talk about is healthcare. And you may or may not know this, but Canada has a universal healthcare system, which means that everyone is covered by public health insurance. The mistake people make, however, is by calling it free healthcare. And it's absolutely not free. It's universal. Everyone is covered, but it's not free. You just pay for your healthcare through taxes, through taxation. And God knows, taxes in Canada are really, really high. They are sky high. The income tax rates in Canada are astronomically high. That is how you're able to create a universal healthcare system. That's how everyone is able to be covered through public healthcare. They just tax you through the roof. So yes, it is universal in Canada, but it is definitely not free. In the United States, on the other hand, healthcare is purchased through private companies, or health insurance could also be offered through your workplace. So for the most part, people are covered for health insurance in the United States. There are people who don't have health insurance in America, however, and if they were to seek any medical care, they would have to pay for that care, for that treatment, out of their own pocket. So that's the main difference between healthcare in the United States and Canada. In Canada, it's public and it's universal, but it's definitely not free. And in America, you do have to purchase it yourself or select a plan that works best for you from your workplace. But if you don't, you run the risk of paying for care out of your own pocket. What do you all think of the points I brought up in this video? Did I miss anything? Have you ever lived in Canada and the United States? What have your experiences been? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Please drop your comments in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. If there's anything you think I should add, or if there's an experience that I didn't talk about, let me know. And like I mentioned earlier, whether you've seen my content before or if this is the first time you're viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos. And by the way, I'm also on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there as well. Thanks everyone, talk to you soon.